The sensation you're feeling is the quickening.
When the 1986 Highlander movie was released, it could have just been another meaningless sword-fighting movie. But instead, it built a compelling mythology centered on the game, the prize, and the rules the Immortals must follow to claim the prize. Okay, before I begin with the rules, here's a quick recap of what the game and the prize stand for. The game is basically an endless conflict where Immortals keep dueling and killing each other until there's only one left, and the prize grants the combined power of every Immortal who has ever lived, along with the gift of mortality. What about the rules? They seem to be covered in mystery, home-brewed really. There's no rulebook, and no one truly knows their origin. Yet, Immortals are expected to follow these unwritten codes. Let's check out all the do's and don'ts they have to adhere to.
There can be only one.
There can be only one. Every Immortal knows this rule by heart. It's like an instinct for them. According to this rule, Immortals are subjected to the effects of the gathering, which is actually a subconscious pull that draws Immortals together and compels them to take part in the game. They are told to keep on fighting and take each other's heads until only one is left alive. The last Immortal standing will become the all-powerful one, having taken every quickening and gained the prize. I already told you about this highly sought after prize, but whether it's worth fighting for or not has nothing to do with the fight itself. There's no staying out of it. For instance, Duncan MacLeod did not have any interest in the game or winning the prize, yet he got pulled into it, because just by surviving, he was a hurdle for the other Immortals in the game. Now, there is no rule that says as soon as an Immortal meets another, they have to start trying to slice each other's heads off. Some Immortals become friends and even develop romantic relationships which last for hundreds of years. But at the end of the day, even those friends and lovers know in the core of their hearts that the day when they would have to battle one another is inevitable.
That's very cute.
All fights between Immortals must be one-on-one. In the world of Immortals, you can't call in reinforcements like in a video game. You have to deal with every fight entirely on your own without any help or interference from others. This might be interpreted more as a tradition than a rule, because seeking out help might be embarrassing. However, Immortals can gang up and go on missions or work together. There's no shame in that. But when it comes down to actual duels, those tend to be one-on-one. And according to this rule, two weaker Immortals cannot team up to defeat one powerful Immortal. It's fair in a way because this rule prevents any strong Immortal from being attacked by multiple opponents. In some cases, Immortal allies have sacrificed their lives for another Immortal to get their quickening, and the force needed to face off against a deadly enemy. Of course, the greatest example is Connor MacLeod, who convinced Duncan to take his head and absorb the quickening since he knew that neither of them was strong enough to defeat evil Immortal Jacob Kell, and that they could not go in together against him.
You are safe only on holy ground. None of us will violate that law.
No fighting on holy ground. Oh boy, this is a big no-no. Whether it was formulated to maintain the sanctity of any holy ground like a church, temple, monastery, whatever, or aligns with the belief that Immortals are godlike beings who should not blemish the homes of deities. The no fighting on holy ground is a huge deal. In fact, even the most wicked Immortals like the Kurgan had been shown to follow this rule. But then again, as the series evolved, the rules were tweaked to show that playful fighting in a shrine is acceptable as long as there is no major bloodshed. But an Immortal fighting another with the intention of injuring them or beheading them is considered a huge disgrace to the natural forces, which results in dire consequences. Even if the beheading occurs accidentally, the winning Immortal has to pay a price for doing so in the home of God. I'll give some examples. When Duncan MacLeod accidentally beheaded Justino Alvarez on holy ground, he was haunted by the spirit of Kurgan. I agree that this might not be canon, but check out the Kurgan Rising audio story, if you don't trust me. Again, when Cain tried to kill Connor inside a church in Highlander 3 the Sorcerer, a thunderous surge and sudden gusts of wind shattered the windows as a warning for Cain to stop the duel. Consequently, holy grounds became a safe space for Immortals to stay on when they wanted a break from the game or were in hiding, and sure, other Immortals did tease them for doing so. Remember Kurgan telling Connor,
You can't stay in here forever.
However, this actually highlights how almost every Immortal took this rule seriously. No wonder, it is labeled as a golden rule in the Highlander world.
There can be only one.
The beheading. I know they are called Immortals, but obvious with every superpower, there's a loophole. For them, it's the head. The Immortals are immune to everything else. No matter how bad the injured an Immortal gets, they won't die. It may look like they are dead, but after a while they always come back, fully healed. In fact, the wounds or sickness from which mortals take considerable time to heal from is nothing for an Immortal. No, they don't care if they are lactose intolerant. But there's one brutal move that can end their lives permanently and put them in a grave. Beheading. Anyone can kill an Immortal by chopping off the head. There have been instances when a rogue subgroup of the Watchers, known as the Hunters, slaughtered Immortals while being normal human beings themselves. How? Just slice that head. That's exactly why the sword is the most important weapon for them. We don't see them using guns or explosives, because they know the rules. Decapitation is the one and only method they can put an end to another Immortal. Anything else is just a temporary setback. The quickening. The primary reason Immortals are after each other's heads is to take their quickening. It is actually a phenomenon where the winner of the duel absorbs the knowledge, power and all the skills of the fallen Immortal. It is released as a burst of energy from the dead Immortal's body, and once taken in by another Immortal, it makes them more powerful. The maths is easy. I wouldn't have tried doing it otherwise. The more quickenings an Immortal takes, the more powerful they become. However, soaking in such an amount of energy is not exactly pleasant. The victor has to go through severe pain while the quickening happens. Still, they go through it, and it's always not just because they want to be stronger. According to executive producer Bill Panzer, sometimes a quickening happens accidentally when a mortal kills an Immortal, and if another Immortal happens to be close enough, they absorb it involuntarily. Why? Simple. Because it's a rule. If you are an Immortal and there is a dead person of your kind, you have to take in their quickening. That's exactly why, when no Immortal is present when another is killed in an accident or so, the quickening dissipates. As far as soaking in the power comes, it usually shows up in subtle ways instead of dramatic change. It might boost speed and agility a bit, or improve healing in some others. Dying once to live forever. Immortals are born like any other baby. They grow up and grow old. Yes, they have the potential power to become an Immortal, but it's latent and only manifests after they die. That death comes to be known as the first death and reveals their true nature. From that moment, they stop aging, and their appearance remains frozen at the age they were when they experienced their first death. When they wake up from their first death, the Immortal is totally healed without as much as a scratch on their body, no matter how violently they died. There are Immortals who look like kids while a few look older. Most Immortals die for the first time in the prime of their life, and it's not an accident, which brings us to the next principle.
There's someone.
The buzz. Other Immortals can tell who has the power to live forever. They can actually sense it, a feeling known as the buzz. Sometimes, if they meet such a person, they make sure the first death happens at the right time, hoping to gain a strong ally. While this is not always strictly enforced, veteran Immortals generally give new and younger Immortals a brief grace period to get used to things. During this time, the newcomer receives training and protection from a seasoned Immortal warrior. We know that Ramirez found and taught Connor MacLeod, while he himself trained Duncan. There are incidents, however, when this rule is ignored, as happened with Damon Case. If an Immortal encounters a freshly activated Immortal, they should take them under their wing and teach them the basics of the game, or bring them to another Immortal who will. Once a pupil takes their first head and absorbs their first quickening, the master's job is done, and they leave the Immortal to face the world on their own.
You can't stay out of the game, Duncan.
The Gathering. I have already told you what the Gathering is, but there's a catch. When the game becomes intense and nears the end, It comes down to only the final Immortals, and the instinct to kill the others grows incredibly strong. These remaining Immortals are drawn to each other like magnets, meeting in one place for a final battle. That means the gathering and eventual killing is not optional. It is an ingrained rule, and each and every Immortal will feel the call of the gathering. Honestly, it feels like a directive they are cursed to follow.
What's that? The Watcher's version of a resume.
262 confirmed immortal kills.
There should be no witnesses. Immortals have to hide their true form from the mortal world and pass off as regular human beings. That's exactly why Connor MacLeod used countless aliases throughout his life. They are not supposed to discuss their business in public, and ideally should keep their affairs a secret from the mortals and avoid fighting in public. Even if they die in public, they are expected to leave the place once they revive so that no one can solve the mystery. Not all Immortals stick to this rule, and even when they do, some have tweaked it as time went on. Once again, I'll use Connor as an example. Once when he died while trying to save a farmer whom he worked for and his daughter Sarah, he left as soon as he came back to life even though he was in love with Sarah. However, the same man chose to reveal his real identity to a mortal woman, Alexandra, he fell for. Apart from this, there have been instances where Immortals have confided in mortal friends. I suppose the whole point of keeping immortality a secret is for their own safety. If mortals find out, they'd eventually get hunted, or worse, made into a public spectacle.
Please, let Heather go.
Immortals cannot have children. Immortals cannot have children because they are sterile from birth. And you know what? It is probably for the best. Because think about it. If a person is to live for centuries and have kids who are mortal, they will grow old and die while the immortal person can do nothing but experience the death of their loved ones. Also, according to Highlander the source, the prize is confirmed as mortality and the chance to bear children. Thus, by making Immortals infertile, it further adds to their determination to win the game and make a family. Moreover, having kids can risk their secrets because there's no guarantee they won't find out the truth about their parents and spill it. I mean, I can barely trust my 6-year-old nephew not to blurt out to his mom that I let him have ice cream.
I know the rules. You and me. Now.
The formal warning. An Immortal must formally warn or directly challenge an opponent to duel. Attacking someone who is helpless, like when they are tied up, asleep, or is unable to fight for some reason, is off limits. Also, disabling them intentionally so they cannot defend themselves, like shooting them before they can recover, is also prohibited. Sometimes it's not even considered a fair fight. For instance, when Jacob Kell killed Immortals in their sleep in the Sanctuary in Highlander Endgame, the makers claim that since they could not protect themselves, it wasn't a real fight per se. They were basically trying to clean up the fighting on holy ground rule mix-up, but it's a good enough example. And that brings us to the end of the major 11 rules. There's still the question as to who really enforced these principles. Personally, I think that the rules were built over time and by Immortals themselves, after a series of trials and errors. Anyway guys, that's all for today. There might be some other implied rule that you have noticed, but this was our list for today. Seems like immortality comes with quite the baggage, huh? Jokes aside, do let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you like this video, don't forget to like and share it. Also, before Henry Cavill's Highlander reboot might finally answer these questions, we'll try to explore some theories about how these rules came to be. So, don't forget to check in with our channel. I'm not going anywhere.